Asadallah yamana wa yamakum Eid al. Now I realize it's pretty hot down there and it's not really fair for me to continue. If you can come under the shade, it would be very good so I don't feel guilty. If you want to stay where you are, then I will shorten the sermon. If you are a Khoja, you will stay where you are to make me shorten my sermon. If you're an Arab, I think you'll come under the shade. When we reflect upon what is it that we are supposed to do upon this earth, and we look at the Quran, a very serious story emerges. A story in which we will be accountable for every single thing that we do. There are scribes who are vigilantly looking at us, observing our actions, and beyond our actions, our thoughts and our intentions. And we will be brought to account for each and every one of these thoughts and actions. We are told that the day in which we will gather is a day in which young children will become old men, in which pregnant women shall miscarry their children, in which people will appear drunkard through the intensity of the day and its fear. It is known as the day of regret. It is known as the day in which secrets will be opened and nothing will remain hidden. It is known as the day of great embarrassment, because whatever we have done in our concealed state, not being ashamed of God, but with wanting to hide it from people, will be laid barren on that day. That day is not an easy day. It's a very, very difficult day. We need to understand that something has happened in our history, and the Quran reminds us of it, that we have made a pact with God. And under the terms of that pact, we are being observed. And everything is being written down, otherwise it doesn't make sense. On that day we will remember whatever pact that we made with God. But when we remember on that day, the only thing we will say to Allah is, send us back to the world, so that this time we can do righteous deeds, amalun salih. If you look at the Quran, it comes out with a very singular message. Turn to God, believe in Allah, believe in that principle of goodness, and do righteous deeds. That is all that is expected from this life of ours according to the Quran. Not at the expense of intellectual progression or scientific discoveries. The Quran condones that, and the Prophet indeed encouraged it. But within ourselves, the singular task is to tend to Allah, to find God, and to beautify our inner self. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Salvation is the one who purifies it. When we look at it carefully, what we understand is that life is a whole process of us learning from our experiences and purifying the soul from the inadequacies of the body. Remove greed, hatred, remove hard-heartedness, forgive people, be confident of God, do not lie, do not cheat, help those in need, prefer others over yourself, sacrifice for others, offer a good word. When people have fought, bring reconciliation. When others have fought with you, be the first one to offer the hand of friendship. Bring about goodness within. Bring about a soul and a heart that at that point, before we meet Allah, everything is forgiven. There is no hard-heartedness in there. that we are reliant upon Allah. We say to Allah, "Oh Allah, I try my best, but I will not allow myself to be greedy, to lie or to cheat when I know that you are my God and you can sustain me." To lead a life in which the hearts are being purged of its inner sins and inadequacies. To come to Allah with qalbun salim, a heart that is sound, that bears the light of God and nothing other than the light of God. That is the singular task at hand. Now I just want to go one more step before I finish. The righteous deeds, if they can be accompanied with the sense of God, then they become even more righteous. That when we speak the truth, we are speaking it with the knowledge that we are observed by God. When we do good, if we can do it with the presence of God to others, that we are doing it due to the presence of God within our hearts. When we forgive, we say to Allah, "Oh Allah, I have no right to hold any grudges in any case. I am in need of your forgiveness." And how beautifully Allah reminds us that if you want my forgiveness, forgive the other. If you want a shelter on a day in which there is no shelter, shelter those who are without shelter and I will give you shelter. If you want food and drink on a day in which you will starve and thirst, feed the hungry and you will receive it from me. If we can do it with the presence of Allah, then that righteous deed becomes more intensified. The Prophet brought about a beautifully simple, godly life. He said to the people, "Leave aside all your traditions, all your rights and wrongs. Come and worship Allah 5 times a day. And when you worship Allah, remember Allah with some soft zikr. After remembering Allah, talk with each other. See to each other's needs. Then go out and see to your affairs. Earn, till the land, visit the sick, visit the poor, make money, interact, explore." But think about it, that simple life in which people were remembering Allah 5 times a day, engaging in the dhikr of Allah. Allah never left the hearts. They did not have time to hate each other. They did not have time to speak ill of each other. They did not have time to think wastefully. When they went to bed at night, the Prophet taught them, know full well, you might not awaken in the morning. So say to Allah, "Oh Allah, I thank you for this day. Forgive me for all the wrongs that I have committed on this day. If I come to you, accept me, O Lord. If you awaken me, allow me to thank you in the morning." The Prophet taught, when we woke up in the morning, say, "Oh Allah, how can I thank you for a new breath of life, for a new opportunity? Oh Lord, allow me to do some good in this day that you've given me afresh today." Such was the conduct of the Prophet, so beautiful. He said, if you are sick, then if you can bear that sickness, it is like struggling in the way of Allah alongside the Prophet himself. How beautifully he converts a human misery into a spirited thing. How beautiful is that? If when you are suffering from great temperature, if you can say La ilaha illallah, all your sins are washed away through that physical ailment. At every point, without ceremonies, internally he connected us very gently with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that was the whole point of human existence. That be focused to Allah and perform righteous deeds. I'm finishing here. Righteous deeds are deeds that lead to the purity of the soul and deeds that increase the presence of God within the heart. That's a righteous deed. And that's about all. It is not curtailed to a Muslim or a Shia. In actual fact, there is no Muslim or Shia. Everybody is the light of God. Think about this. How we have begun to think Prophet Muhammad went to the worst of God's creatures. They weren't Muslims and so on and so forth. He saw the light of God in their hearts. It's a wrong way of thinking, brothers and sisters. Every soul is the light of God. Every soul bears the truth inside it. Be good and kind to one and all without discrimination. Can we finish this khutbah with praying for all those that have gone before us, be they within our locality or from afar, be they Muslim or non-Muslim. May Allah elevate all their ranks and may Allah bless them all. Often people ask me, why do you pray for the non-Muslims? Why do you pray for Prince Philip and why do you pray for this? I'm thinking, what a laughable question is this? The only one you don't pray for is the enemy of God according to the Quran. Otherwise, pray for one and all. May Allah forgive our human family. The one who stands before you today as a Muslim, God could have given him birth as a Christian and I would have been a Christian. He could have given my audience birth as Sunnis or as Jews or as Buddhists. So what? There is nothing in that label, trust me. What is true is what is within, what we are becoming from inside. Let us pray Fatiha for all those who have gone. May Allah cure all those who are sick. May Allah bring ease to all those who are in difficult circumstances. Al-Fatiha. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Just very quickly, just 2 points. The Prophet used to, obviously this is prominently within our Sunni literature, the Prophet used to pray the 2 rakat of Salatul Jumu'ah like the Salatul Eid, and then after that he would offer the 2 sermons. So he would pray 2 rakat Salah first, as we do in Eid, and then offer the 2 sermons. Now, the Quran says, وَإِذَا رَأَوْا تِجَارَةً أَوْ لَهْوًا انْفَضُّوا إِلَيْهَا وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا. Now, people, as soon as this Salah would finish, would observe a good sale and trade or something of leisure and sport. They would leave the Prophet and go away. So the Prophet would be giving a sermon. Now that is humanity for you, and that's how we are as human beings. And I know you're very polite to not to go from here and you are here, but we are humans, and if we see something that we like, we would leave, right? So then what the Prophet did was, he said, okay, from now on we will have the sermon first and then Salah, so that nobody could go away. They would be detained there and they would have to listen to the full sermon and then pray. What does that say? What that says is that the forms that we adhere to, that it has to be like this and it has to be like that, and takbir without your hand shaking and all these laws that we have, this is not the way the Prophet understood Islam. Islam was understood more as the essence of the growth of the human soul through God and godliness. That's what the Prophet understood Islam as. For him, the sermon was more important than the Salah. Can you see that? Had the sermon not been more important, he would not have changed the place of sermon and Salah so that the sermon was heard. Now, there is no wujub about you have to be there, otherwise you're... No, there was no wujub in that sense. The thing was of enlightening minds, reformation of the soul. So we always find that Islam has been misunderstood. We have reduced Islam to forms and how perfect the form and ruku and makharij are. So wala zaleen, we say the Pakistani, and the Arabs say wala daleen, and I don't know what the Iranians say, but there's a huge problem of the makharij. Al-madda and shadda and all of that. If he doesn't do madda enough, the namaz is, no, salah is not batil with this zalin and balin. It's not batil with maddas and shaddas. It is batil when there is no God in here. Salah, as the Prophet said, seen Bilal afdal min sheen. Sheenokum or whatever. That the seen of Bilal is better than your sheen. In front of Allah, Bilal's heart is singing. In front of Allah, your tongues are proclaiming. What Allah looks at, what is in the heart. Allah sees ma fil qulub, as is Surah Hajj. What reaches Allah is what is in your heart. So, based on that logic, as we revise our thinking, we see that actually all these qurbanis and cutting off so many animals. If you go to Pakistan on the day of Eid al Adha, it's a bloodbath. Everybody wants to give sacrifice and qurbani. There is no such need of giving such qurbanis. The qurbani is not even wajib on the majority of the hujjaj. Only those hujjaj who are na'i, man lam yakun manziluhu hadir Bayt al-Haram, Masjid al-Haram, who is away from Masjid al-Haram. Only these people are required to do qurbani in Hajj at-Tamattu. Not anybody else. The Mufrid, the Hajj al-Ifrad, there is no qurbani. Unless if somebody wants to do the Hajj of dragging the camel as Hajj al-Ifrad, Qiran for example. There is no qurbani even for Hujjaj, majority of them. This notion that we have to offer a meat qurbani is not really something that works in the present day. Killing animals to this extent no longer sits well with us. Even at Hajj, cutting so many animals serves what point? The Hujjaj have to eat them. Kulu minha wat'amul ba'is al-faqir. Eat from it. Which one of us eats? We go in a group of 150 to 200. Which one of us eats? At the most we bring back 2 carcasses and we eat 2 carcasses. 148 go elsewhere. I'm just saying, what need is there? If we look at it very carefully, it's not a central component. It was there to feed the Hujjaj during their stay in Mina. If you look at the Quran and Hadith literature properly, it was there to feed them because the people were poor. Then the people become affluent and Imam Sadiq said, take it out of Mina, this meat of Qurbani. Distribute it because it's going to go to waste. In any case, what I'm trying to say here is that these forms are not central to Islam. Our nobility, I know, at one time the Muslims, like the rest of humanity, were still evolving. We had slaves. We had right-hand possessions. Today there is no slavery, we've abolished it. It is below human dignity, haven't we? We don't have right-hand possessions, we've abolished it. It's below human dignity, isn't it? Now we should arrive at a point where we can say, look, these animal sacrifices, at least confine it to Makkah, Medina for now. But outside Makkah, don't offer qurbanis unless there is a community that needs its nutritional value through meat, then sacrifice and give meat. But if that's not the case, like people like us, we actually eat meat 365 days a year, twice a day, don't we? Meat has become our staple diet. In fact, we should reduce consumption of meat. We should become more nobler inside our nobility as we have stopped slavery and concubinage and right and possession. We should now slowly move to that level where we say our inner dignity does not allow us to eat meat anymore. It does not allow us to kill animals and eat them. So sacrifice in the way of Allah now would be assist people, feed them, not necessarily cut animals off. We need to rethink into these things. We need to progress, and Muslims need to be the torch bearers of the spirit of humanity. When the Blessed Prophet came, he modified the Christian and the Mosaic law. He brought in a fresh system that was human friendly. He gave equal status to men and women. He gave women the right to divorce, the right to earn, the right to own, the right of self-determination. He gave rights to slaves. He said, Jews and Christians are equal citizens within the identity of the Ummah. It was a breath of fresh air. He was ahead of his time by at least 1,200 years. That is the real spirit of Islam. Be ahead of time. Bring about that refined morality and spirituality. Guide the world. That is what Prophet Muhammad demonstrated. We need to get back there. And I know I've taken a lot of time and I'm sorry about that. Forgive me. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring the best of His light through us and allow us to serve others and allow us to understand His beautiful want and to swiftly progress in that direction. I will finish the ceremony and then read a quick ziyarah of Hussein Salamullah alayh, and that will be the end of it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Muhammadin al-Mustafa wa ala aliyin al-Murtada wa ala Fatimah al-Zahra wa ala al-Hasan al-Mujtaba wal Hussein al-Shahid bi Karbala